Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? It's that time. So, good afternoon. And let's get started on this cloudy day. I'll give everybody a few minutes to get on. Shoot me a hey, Kim. Hey, Angie. Glad to see you guys are on. I hope everybody else jumps on. I'll give everybody a few minutes. Melissa, what's going on, sister? I don't look quite so pale today. I did some things with the lighting in my dining room / office this afternoon. So hopefully it'll be a little bit better. I still have the glasses glare, but I can't see without my glasses. So got to keep them on. What's everybody got planned for this afternoon? I was just checking out some travel agent rates on Carnival for the end of July, early August, September. Out of this world rates. So I'm like itching, watching and itching just to get back out there. Hope everybody spent a semi-productive week, quiet week. I wasn't quite as productive as I wanted to be this week. Did get some things done though. I tend to work better under pressure. That's the German in me. So usually when I've got deadlines and there's things that are on the ticker to do, that's when I tend to get a little bit more productive. Although, I mean, I was productive this week. It just wasn't at a rate that I was happy with. All right, so there's 3 of you with me right now. I'd like to give everybody a minute or two to get back in it. I can't see from the other screen. Let me pull up my phone real quick. Let's see who else's Pepsi is live. I don't want Pepsi. I don't drink Pepsi. Who drinks Pepsi? I don't drink Pepsi. As a matter of fact, I don't drink sodas at all, so. Okay, well, it's Kelsey. There we go. Glad to see you, sort of. Technically not seeing you. I know you're there. Is Coy sleeping? My son-in-law's been on night shift during this past week. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going into week 6 of this self-isolation business, and I'm getting a little frustrated, just a little grumpy, Imagine that. I'm really ready to do our drawing today. I don't know about you guys. Give me a thumbs or a heart or the smoky eyes, the happy eyes, whatever, if you're ready for the drawings today. And I'm still getting messages from clients. Great. Coy. All right. So there's 5 of you on board right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Can everybody hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Last week we had some significant lag from when you were commenting to my questions and responses. So I think given how cloudy it is outside here, I bet you everybody's inside. So I think we're going to get some more lag, unfortunately. So hopefully not too much. All right, I'm going to start with announcements for this week. The top announcement that came out this week is last week, I think I told everybody that Carnival had canceled all their sailings through the end of June, and Royal Caribbean was just kind of sitting back and hadn't made that commitment yet. Well, they did. On Tuesday, they committed to another 30-day extension. June 11th is their cutoff, and they have said that they're going to make announcements 30 days at a time. So even if they decide to extend their suspension of operations through the end of June, they will not announce that for another 2, maybe 3 weeks. So, it wasn't unexpected. It just, if you're going to commit. So right now, everybody's just really hoping that travel will be back open back up at that time frame. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Most of the airlines, the major airlines, Delta and American, especially Delta has been in the forefront, and United, have extended their e-credits to 2022, which is really terrific for those travelers who had flights that were canceled or had to cancel. Airlines don't give refunds at this time, so unless you file it on your insurance claim, if you have insurance, you're not going to get that money back, but you are going to get an e-credit for the total of your flight to be able to use towards a future trip. And so a lot of people are okay with that, especially since most of those people are travelers and are going to travel regardless in the future. So, you've already paid for it, so just use it when it comes time for you to travel. Okay. So there's also been a lot of discussion on when is travel going to come back? Well, and right now, really, those 3 words that nobody likes, I don't know, seem to be at the forefront. However, a lot of experts have done some polls and some questionnaires of travelers that were booked on either cruises or land packages, etc., and have kind of compiled some information. And this week's, the majority of that information indicates that there are 3 types of travelers, and that's going to bridge how travel is going to come back. So you've got your diehard travelers, your travelers that are going to travel the minute things are open. This is what they love to do. They're going to travel regardless of extenuating potential warnings. They're ready to get back to it as soon as things are deemed safe enough and open enough to get back to traveling. And that's with cruises or land packages. And then there's your more reserved people. Those may have been affected financially by our current situation. So they're going to be a little bit more reserved to get back out there, whether it's for health reasons, financial reasons. They're looking to travel. Everybody's really edgy to travel, but they're going to be more reserved in making that future commitment. And then you have your third type of traveler, which is your, I'm kind of done for the next year or 2, just because it's just hit me so hard, or it's too scary, and I'm just not ready to go back out there. So the leading traveler happens to be that diehard traveler. So the majority of the bookings that are happening right now are happening with that diehard traveler. People are booking into 2021. Travel by cruise lines is up by about 15% in the cruise industry for bookings for 2021. So people are still ready to travel. They're wanting to travel. It's just going to be a little bit slower to get back going. Whether there's going to be full throttle travel here in 2020, that's left to be decided, by various countries and the various CDC guidelines. It is looking like towards the end of this year that things will open up partially, and things may not open up completely. They're projecting until the end of 2021. And when I say completely, all ships in the water doing itineraries, all land operators back up on their feet and doing their tours, itineraries. So it's going to be different. Some of the things that are going to be changed, they know right now, especially with cruise lines, is that things are going to be more capacity controlled. And by that we mean, if a ship holds 4,000 people, they may not put 4,000 people on that ship. They may only put 25 to 3,000 people on that ship, if not less, to allow some capacity control, to allow some distancing, to allow for easier cleaning and sanitation. Resorts and parks are looking at the same type of guidelines, some capacity control, again, to allow for the distancing, the sanitation, and the easing back into the full blown travel mode. And again, it may be mid to late 2021, if not into 2022, before we see travel back to where it was. People are ready to get out there and travel. I don't know about you, but I know I am. So it's just a matter of everybody sitting tight. The president released our phase, moving back into the economy phase 1, 2, and 3. Well, some states are going to be ready for phase 1, very soon. I've read that Texas is going to be opening up into the first phase next week. Well, here in Louisiana, we're not going to be ready for phase 1 or phase 2, for that matter, for quite some time. So again, it depends on location. Locations in Europe are doing the same type of phasing, and it's going to be a while. So knock on wood. Hopefully it won't be that much longer before we can at least make potential plans for this summer. I have gotten quite a few questions and inquiries about stateside summer traveling, which is great. Not traveling too far, traveling by car. So Arkansas, Florida, Texas, all great locations within driving distance that have great family trips or couples trips. So, there are some things, some options that can be done stateside. If you're willing to drive a little bit further, there's Savannah, there's other locations in the northern regions of Arkansas, there's Gatlinburg, all fantastic locations, for getaways for this summer, later this season, early fall, that you can start planning. Things will more than likely be open for that. So who's ready for a trip? I know I am. Okay. I haven't gotten any responses from you guys, so I'm not sure whether you guys are following me or if everybody's on. So I'm just going to kind of keep going. Hopefully everybody can hear me. So the next thing on our agenda to talk about today is groups. I really have gotten into groups, and I didn't think I would like it. It's a bigger package to manage versus individual reservations. I love individual reservations. I mean, I'll book them all day long. But groups are a mode of travel and a method of booking a reservation that a lot of people forget exists, or they don't know that it exists. So I just typed in 3 types of groups that we're going to talk about today. Okay. So the first group, an affinity group, and groups can be booked on cruise lines, with tour operators, with hotels, for any kind of travel. So a group, we're going to talk about the affinity group first, and I think everything's going to start to make sense. An affinity group is a group of people that have a common connection. For instance, if it's a family reunion, a class reunion, wine lovers club, a gardening club, a church group, a charity, those are all what's considered an affinity group. And their connection makes their group, and therefore it's usually like one person leading the group, making all the, the majority of the decisions, doing the research, talking about what itinerary is going to be done, whether it's going to be land or sea, or if you just drive into a hotel or a resort. So an affinity group is a great way for larger families to travel. If I booked, let's say, a cruise for my family and everybody got their own cabin, including myself, we would already have 5 cabins booked, if not 6. Most cruise lines require 8 cabins at double capacity, double occupancy, so 16 people would be considered a group. Some of the smaller itineraries or smaller ships, it drops down to 10. So Holland America, for instance, if you do an affinity group and you're not going to have more than 10 travelers, they'll drop the group number down to 10. Most hotels, that number goes up considerably, and it's usually 22 people is considered a group, 22 or more. And so, you don't get as many benefits when you're booking hotels in the group, an affinity group. Resorts and land packages, it can be 1 to 10, 1 to 15, 1 to 16. It really depends on the land operator. The smaller the group, the smaller the number for the capacity. As far as you can grow an affinity group as big as you want. So let's say you're doing a class reunion and everybody's bringing their spouse or significant other. Your class reunion may easily grow 50 to 100 people, and maybe even more depending on where you went to school. A promotional group is a little bit different. A promotional group is a group of people that are traveling, aren't necessarily traveling together. So I just put together 2 promotional groups on Carnival ships for Thanksgiving of 2020. I put together a promotional group for Thanksgiving on the Carnival Dream, and then for the Carnival Vista. They're just groups. People can book into the group to take advantage of the group rates and the group amenity. And if for posterity, and we'll talk about tour conductors in a little bit, if there's one person who's in the group who decides that they're going to invite 2 or 3 friends, and that starts to build, that person can be named the TC, the tour conductor. Or as a promotional group, I can choose to take that TC rate and split it amongst all the cabins that are booked to add additional amenities. So that's a promotional group. A promotional group could also be, for instance, if your favorite author, Emma Waterways last year, I think it was Emma Waterways or the year before, did, those of you who watch Outlander, Diana Gabaldon, cruised on a river cruise, and the whole cruise was built around her and cruising with her. So that was considered a promotional group. I'm working with a local, well, I'm not going to jump into that. So a promotional group can be set up for any number of reasons. And again, when you travel within those groups, you don't know the rest of the people in the group, and you don't have to have anything to do with the rest of that group. It's just you're taking advantage of the pricing and the amenities. The third type of group is an incentive group, and this is usually a group that is set up by a company or an organization or a business, and they provide travel, like a travel incentive for their top employees or for a number of sales, etc. It can also be a reward trip. So an incentive group, for instance, let's take a national company like Ford, okay? And Ford books out, let's say 200 cabins on a sailing, and they then award across all their franchises the top salespeople in all of their franchises a trip on this particular cruise. That's an incentive cruise. So I haven't delved too much into the incentive travel just yet, but Royal Caribbean offers a really nice incentive travel package, as well as some of the land operators. So it is something that I'm looking to try to market a little bit more. Okay, so your groups are also going to have deposit policies, and deposit policies are going to be varied throughout whatever type of vendor you're working with, whatever company you're working with, and also what type of group deposit you decide you're going to do. So for some groups, you can do a no deposit. So like for most of my promotional groups with Royal Caribbean, there's no deposit. If it was an affinity group, there would be a deposit. For Carnival, whether it's affinity or promotional, there's a deposit. Incentive travel, there's not going to be a deposit. So the group leader and the travel agent will work together to decipher the deposit policies and when everybody has to have their base deposit and then their booking deposit and then their final payment. The pricing is always going to be based on double occupancy. If you know there's going to be a need for triples and quads in your group, you have to let the person that's building that group know ahead of time so that they can pull those cabins or rooms or a capacity into the group. For instance, I had a group booked for May that got canceled, and I did not know at the beginning that they needed some ADA compliant cabins, so I didn't pull any in. Well, when we had to book those cabins, we had to take from the inventory that the ship had available, which wasn't that many, because each ship only has X number of ADA compliant or accessible cabins. So the inventory wasn't great to choose from. So you always have to know what is going to be built into your group. You can also book into any one of these groups from an FIT, from an individual booking. So say I have somebody who's interested in Israel, and I book them. And then I get a few more requests for Israel, and then it might be worth it building that group. Well, then I can pull that individual reservation into the group that I build. So they can take advantage of those amenities that are within that group. Your option dates are also very important when you're building a group and managing a group, that you don't forget about your option dates. There's nothing worse than missing a deadline when it comes to groups, because your inventory will then be released back to the cruise line or the tour vendor or the tour operator or the hotel. So be very aware of your dates. Okay, group leader or your TC. So the advantage of, let's say, an affinity group is that the tour operator or the tour leader, who is the person that's traveling with the group and helping to organize it, can take advantage of the TC rates. And so TC rate is the average cruise rate or the average travel rate within that group. So they'll take the highest, the lowest, and the mid and add them all together and then average that. And then the person, if the group books to capacity, the person that is the TC will then get that amount of money applied towards their trip. So let's say you're building an affinity group. It's a family reunion. You're doing all the legwork. And then the average cruise rate is going to be $1,000. You get that TC rate applied to your booking if the group fills to the required number of reservations. Not bad. With a promotional group, as I said before, I can take that TC rate and I can apply it for additional amenities, extra onboard credit, some wine or some, cheese boards or something, sent to the cabins or to the rooms. So TC rate is a great incentive to do groups, whether by cruise or by tour operator. Escorted groups do the same thing. You can have small groups, you can have a private group, and then you can do a group of your own inside of an escorted larger group. So say I'm going to do that trip to Israel and I'm going to take 15 people. I'm the 16th person, so I've met my capacity for TC rate, but the tour group is 30 to 35 people large. So my group is going to join that larger group. It's a great way to travel, great way to do that, and great way to take advantage of the great group rates. The wonderful thing about setting up a group is that when you set that group up, your rates are locked. That's your prevailing, your rate as far as what you can offer your potential clients in that group. Okay. You can also, the third and the fourth person do not count towards your required berths or your required numbers. So say you're in a hotel room and you have your double occupancy rate and you add a third and fourth person into the room, those third and fourth people do not count towards the overall TC. Okay, so unfortunately. If you have a solo cabin, solo cabins are going to pay for double occupancy, and that does count towards your berths. So any questions about groups? I know it's a lot of stuff to process. Insurance was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Okay, so insurance, travel insurance. A lot of people, I don't need that. Why do I need that? Okay, so let me tell you why you need that. You don't know there's a lot of what ifs when you travel. The what ifs may not happen, but they may happen. And if they do happen and you do not have travel insurance, it can be a devastating monetary impact to you. So for instance, you're on a trip, you're on a hike, or you're on let's say you're on a walk going through, Rome on a tour, and you stumble and you break your leg. Okay, so you don't have travel insurance. So now, and most medical insurance does not cover you when you're traveling abroad. So now you have medical bills to be treated for this broken leg, and you don't have insurance. That's not a good thing. That's not a good place to be. Say you flew all the way from Washington, D.C., and you flew all the way over to Barcelona, but your luggage didn't. What do? You're going to walk around Barcelona for the next week and a half in the same clothes you came in. So your travel insurance will come into play, and you can go out, purchase, your essentials, file your claim, and then you get reimbursed. Trip interruption. You get to the airport and your flight's been canceled, but your cruise leaves out of Miami at 3:00 that afternoon. You're not going to make it. So you're going to have to file a claim to recoup that money. Otherwise, if you don't have travel insurance, you've lost it all. And we know that traveling is not cheap, although some things are, more affordable than others. So travel insurance is it's a must in today's world. It really is. The benefit, the financial recovery that you will benefit from when you purchase travel insurance for your trips far outweighs the compensation that you may need. You can buy vendor insurance. So if you, for instance, if you book a cruise, you can buy that particular cruise line's insurance, and there's several different types of policies. There's your basic, there's your cancel anytime, and then some cruise lines or some vendors have like a plus, and that ups the coverage amount for medical, evacuation. Say you have to have an emergency appendectomy, or hopefully it never happens, you have an emergency at home and you have to cut your trip short and you have to get the next flight out. And that wasn't in your budget. The flight that you booked only cost $300. Well, you've got to get home right now. And so you've lost the money for the remainder of your trip, and you need to pay for another flight. And that flight costs $1,200. Again, insurance is a must. Hey, Andrea, I'm glad you joined us. It's protection. It's protection for you. You can get it per trip. You can use your traveler vendors insurance, or you can buy outside policies. Cruise Planners uses Allianz, which I've actually had to use a policy that I purchased for lost luggage when I went to Portugal last year, and thank goodness, because that was $350 to buy essentials that I hadn't budgeted in for my trip, but my trip insurance covered that. And I, paid less than a quarter of that for the policy. So it paid for itself, plus, my incidentals that I needed. You can also buy an annual plan. So if you're a traveler that travels 3, 5, 6, 7 times a year, you can purchase an annual policy that will cover all your travel for that year. And that's something that I'm kind of looking towards doing for myself. I only travel for X number of months a year because during the summer I'm at the pools. But, especially this year with all the unknowns, an annual policy I think would behoove me instead of having to buy individual policies, for each individual trip that I do. And some trips I'm going to be out of country, some trips are stateside. But I think travel insurance is something that when you travel without it, you're taking a chance. So I'm really going to be pushing, not pushing, it's probably the wrong word. I'm really going to be prompting my clients to be very proactive with their insurance. And so one of the things that happened with their insurance for the Allianz policies that were purchased by my clients is that Allianz is allowing, if your trip got canceled and you didn't use your policy, to push that policy coverage forward for 770 days. So you can take that unused policy, modify it, and you can use it for a future trip. That's a great option. You've already paid for it. You're going to wait forever for a refund. So just hold on to it and reuse it if you know you're going to travel again. If you're a one-time traveler and you only travel every few years, then, of course, you want the refund. But that's a great option. So if you do not purchase travel insurance, I'm required to have you sign a travel waiver. And I'm really going to stick to the guns on that, especially after everything we've been through in the past few months with COVID. It's for my protection and your protection. Some credit cards offer coverage if you pay for the trip with a credit card. So check with your credit card companies. They may already have a built-in policy or coverage. And, you know, if that coverage is not enough, so say it only has $5,000 medical, $5,000 medical is enough to go see a doctor once, right? Doctors are expensive. So you may want to add an additional policy to that. Okay, so any questions about insurance? I'm talking a lot, and we're going to stick to the 45 minutes today. Yay! Okay, so in closing, I was talking about groups earlier, and right now I have 6 groups put together and ready to book into. So the first group is, of course, my Christmas market river cruise in the end of November over Thanksgiving week. Knock on wood, that one is potentially still going. So that one is, hey, Loretta, I'm glad you joined. That one is still open for booking. I just set up 2 Thanksgiving trips on the Carnival Vista and the Carnival Dream. The events are already populated on my Facebook page. I'll be adding them to my website this weekend or early next week. So the Carnival Dream, that's a 5-day, and the Carnival Vista is a 7-day. Great opportunity to go enjoy yourself over the Thanksgiving holidays with your families or your loved ones, your friends, and to get out. A lot of people just want to get out. And the pricing is really nice for both of those sailings. So the group amenities are listed in the flyers and on the event. I also have a girls trip planned in March of next year on Royal Caribbean on the Adventure of the Seas. And I just put together another group on the same ship in April over spring break. And that is another group, some great group rates available right now in those. If you're already booked on any of those sailings, I can pull you into the group and you can add those additional amenities. If you're holding on to what we call the golden ticket, those FCCs from canceled sailings, you can use those to book into any one of these groups. So keep that in mind. I know Angie is holding on to some golden tickets. Her mom has a golden ticket. So great opportunity to book into these groups. So I also set up, because Alaska was completely canceled this year for all sailings, period. So I set up one group on Celebrity, on the Celebrity Eclipse for June of next year, early June. Great pricing on that one as well. So that one's open for booking. And then I'm looking at itineraries and ships to do one in August, mid to late August of 2021. Haven't decided. I'm kind of bouncing between Holland and Norwegian for that one. Norwegian just did some major price adjustments on their sailings for 2021 in Alaska. So it might be time to take advantage of some of their promotions. And then I'll be looking to add some land packages in the spring and then one for fall of next year. So keep an eye out on those. Again, I'm really getting into the groups. I'm going to escort as many of the groups as possible. If I'm not escorting the group and I have a Pied Piper in one of the groups that, you know, promotes it actively and gets a few people engaged, then I have absolutely no problem providing that person the TC rate. I've been talking to some friends that are interested in becoming travel agents. And so hopefully within the next 90 days, you know, once things open back up, I will be announcing some associates coming on board with my franchise. One that will specialize in Carnival, maybe another one that will specialize in Disney, and then one not quite sure where she's going to specialize. She may just do my groups. I'm not sure yet. But so I'm really looking forward to being able to pull that together and have them come on board, especially during my summer months. Okay, so rebooking with FCCs, we've kind of talked about that. If you're holding those FCCs, it's time to rebook. You know, start looking down the line. The rates are astronomically, ridiculously low right now. You know, some people are holding on to them going, oh, I don't know if I want to book just yet. You can be reserved, absolutely. But start thinking about it. You know, what do I want to do in 2021? The deals right now for land packages and cruise lines are, again, very attractive. So, you know, start thinking about those future trips. Everything is going to be capacity controlled for the next 6 months, 10 months, 12 months. So again, so the ships that are usually full at capacity to, you know, 3,000, 3,500 people may only sell 2,000 cabins. So, you know, you want to make sure you keep that in mind for your planning. You know, so if you see a sailing or a trip that you're interested in, book it, put a deposit in. Worst case scenario is this continues and you get FCC or a refund. All the travel companies are doing FTCs, future travel credits as well. So this will be my last live for the time being. You know, I had said, you know, we potentially may do another one if our shutdown continues and we can't move into phase 2 and I can't get out back to the office and starting on pool activities and training, then I'll do another live in a couple weeks, and I'll be talking about the British Isles, Australia, and the South Pacific. Nobody has commented or said anything, and so I think we're a little backlogged today. I want to invite everybody to a virtual cruise night on April 23rd at 6:30 p.m. being hosted by Royal Caribbean. I sent out a few invites this morning. One of my clients just emailed me back and said there's a warning attached. So I'll check that out. But if you're interested in joining us for that particular event, I'll probably do an event for it on my Facebook page, or I can email you the invite. I'm looking forward to it. You know, go cruising from the comfort of your recliner. It sounds fun, and I'm looking forward to it. And I love Royal Caribbean, loyal to Royal. Okay, so today is the drawing, and I said I would have some additional announcements. So the grand prize is the $100 Carnival gift card. Woohoo! Somebody's going to get it. And I'm telling you, this basket is full. So here's your Carnival gift card. I don't know if you can see that. I'll hold it up. There we go. Shiny $100 Carnival gift card. The second prize is actually a book called Journeys, 500 Journeys. I think that's what it's called. God bless America. How did I forget? It's a wonderful National Geographic book. And I thought it was amazing and an unusual, there it is. It's a National Geographic book, Journeys of a Lifetime, 500 of the world's greatest trips. So that's the second prize that I'll be giving away today. And the third prize will be an additional $25 rewards card. Woo. So 3 prizes today. I also announced earlier in the week or late last week that the next person who books into my girls trip for March of 2021 will also get a $25 rewards card, which can be applied as OBC or towards their trip. So keep that in mind, share those trips, book into them, and I look forward to, you know, going on that trip with you guys. So the way I'm going to do the drawing is everybody who joined me today will get their name added to the pot one more time. Unfortunately, for some reason, comments and stuff weren't showing up today. So if you guys were doing that, you know, I apologize. I think Facebook is just really logged down. And then I'm going to go live after I add the names. I'm going to go live one more time to draw the winners and announce the winners. Okay, so since comments and stuff aren't showing up, I'm going to go ahead and end this. We're right at 45 minutes. And within the next 5 minutes, I'm going to go live again to do the drawing. So hang around. Don't go anywhere. The drawing will be done shortly. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you in a few minutes.